Well, hi everybody. I just want to give you the visual here for just a moment so everyone still see that I'm alive and kicking and still out here swinging. All right, we're back. I just wanted to have a little, have to make an entry on today, if nothing else, so that I'll remember this because this is quite a worn out word, epiphany for me, a little bit, in that when I started knowing that I was getting deeply involved in truly not just kidding fad or kind of deal like that, that I was being attracted to or drawn into seeking some answers and questions and various things about all this stuff going around that it seems to be that everybody's talking about, and we dabble with it, we talk about it and things, and I have come to find myself at this point, which is we've been talking about these things for a long time. We've talked about the studies that we have done on our journey, my journey, uh, as far back as like with RPK, retropsychokinesis. We were talking about these things and becoming familiar with all those things. That's the ability to perceive into the future. We talked about these things and we've been interested. And it's amazing that we'll be on one for a while and something else will spark our, glitter, and we will, instead of continuous pursuit in that one area, it falls by the not by the wayside, but at least not front and center. And we're learning about Rupert Sheldrake's with his morphic resonance theory, and then that is quite appealing to me. And I study, as we all do, voraciously about those things. And then the unbelievable focus here just a while back on the paradigm shifting uh, mathematical, how the whole thing is held together, and I've even forgotten the name of it, and it was just all consuming in my mind at the time. It's still there. I haven't focused on it. It hadn't grown. But all these things seem to have been compressed into this period of time. But there was a time, and quite a long time, really, what we consider a long time nowadays, to where it you really was stepping out there. It was kind of funnish, and people were you're finding other esoteric was a nice is a nice little word, and people saying that easily now amongst themselves, and or they're coming more people are becoming looser and talking about those things. We get deeper into it, and we find that just past goofy starts working real well. If you've been around us a while, that means in a period of meditation, when you finally realize if you really want to get something out of this, really, and you decide I'm already here, let's go. And that's called the things I call just past goofy. Things start happening once you realize that, let me give it a shot, and you're just past goofy. And we look for validators that, I did, that we're on the right path, and you mix in that you've got real human things that have to be taken care of, life and all those expenses. So you have to find ways to mold revenue streams. We've tried a lot of things, and it's come full circle that it's picking up your tools. It's what it's coming down to, and try to make it to where you can get as many people that you've known along the way for it to benefit them. But look in full circle that you have to put in the worth if you want to get worth out. And I believe that's what we're going to find. It's right around the corner for us all, and there's an abundance in that. But we've talked about those things, and then all of a sudden, over on Truth Frequency, which really in its days, and it's those people that have formed this, are the freedom movement people. I'm talking about the, you know, uh, don't tread on, the whole 9 yards from that, which is wonderful. But on that really fired up side, and they talked that kind of stuff for a long, long time on the radio stations and stuff that caused this to be a reality here, and very little of the esoteric was spoken. But listen to this now.
like that, and it stands right alongside those in terms of production value. And the fact that a movie like that can be shot with being funded by the fans, that's encouraging. That's exciting. And that's where I want to go with Seed. I would love to really, honestly put the control in your hands. If it becomes a series that you really like and that you really enjoy, then if you want to see it keep going and make sure that it doesn't get censored or canceled, well, I mean, the power is in your hands. I mean, when Star Trek, the original series, got canceled after 3 seasons, I mean, the fans went crazy. They tried to do everything they could to get it back, but I mean, it was a studio owned and run deal, so it didn't come back until years later. They finally made the Star Trek the motion picture movie that kind of brought it back, and then for a while that franchise continued in theatrical release. And then, of course, Star Trek Next Generation shows up. Then you had Deep Space Nine and Voyager and Enterprise spun off after that, and built a huge following of fans. And now there are people out there even doing sort of their own original series. I think it's like Star Trek Phase 2 or something. I saw a few of them. They're actually pretty good. They rebuilt the bridge of the Enterprise, and they got all the same costumes and stuff, and using off-the-shelf software that you can buy nowadays for a few $100s, and able to make a lot of the same type of special effects right there on your home computer. There are fans out there that have done the continuing voyages of the original crew with the original, the original Star Trek 1960s outfits and ship and everything. I just think that's great, and that's what I want Seed to be. I want this to be, of course, like any television or movie project, it's a collaborative project that requires a lot of people passionate about it, as I am. And we've got a lot of people out there already who have gotten behind us and who are excited about what we're trying to do. But tonight, my goal is to hopefully introduce this project to you here on Truth Frequency Radio and anywhere else that this may be broadcast.
Well, point I'm making here is that this is, hopefully y'all could hear that. Let me see if that volume was working.
To you. And in the last...
Yeah, it was working on the recording. But free thinkers are breaking clean out there. They're breaking free, new thinking. And and to hear them talking like this, or I wanted you to hear Popeye because he has Federal Jack. And they're speaking very, very esoteric, and they're talking about creative. That thought, everything starts with a single thought. If you have thoughts of continuous fear, everyone's catching, or there's more people waking up to this thought thing. And everything in my world, it goes by validators. And then when I'm thinking about something, and should I move in a direction, like I'm seeing people waking up here. Just last night, this was on Coast to Coast, Global Consciousness. Whew. And I listened to this, and it was absolutely unbelievable. And what the reason for this entry is so that I wouldn't forget this video. I wouldn't forget myself while I'm thinking about these things. And it has come to me that every single individual has the ability to alter what's going on right now. If they share that thought with another person who believes the same thing, and then that person shares equally as they just did, just for the pure essence of thought and thinking about in the same manner harmonically, it doesn't make any difference what you think about. Whether it's your toenail can turn blue if you scratch your right, whatever, or that you want to, that that you can turn a fish into gold, and you have a way of doing it, and you pass that on to somebody, and they believe that, even though you've never produced the gold at all. You just said that you could. You told that first person. It started that spreading that out. That gets perpetuated and it becomes truth to others because it has been passed on in some of these things into antiquity or back way back when. But in just our examples, we could do this now, and it can spread as fast as Ebola. Okay, that's another thing. It has to do with thought, harmonic thought. And here's what I have ascertained. It has to do with something as silly as that example. And it doesn't really make any difference what we're thinking about. Is that they recognize that this control mechanism, because it, folks, it's getting down to the point where if you're denying the fact that if you're walking down an aisle and you happen to smell something like a cologne or a perfume, and just by chance you were thinking about that earlier, that kind of thing happens quite often, you're going to see that they're wanting to know how to make you do that all the time for their product. So they're thinking about it on a on how to make money off of getting you to, I mean, sync up with these phones enough to where they can track you literally. They can track you literally in a store, and you're going down the cologne or perfume aisle, and it's got your GPS in there. It squirts that tester, and you go by, whoa, me, catfish, and it worked. And then so they can take that from that guise or application into just about any area that they want to at the twinkling of an eye. And let me tell you how fast. Case in point, real story that my sister, not even 1 hour ago, told me about, is that she said to call her and that wanted to bring me up to speed on my mother, who is 90 something. I think she's 90 something. But anyway, mother had left her purse in the shopping basket at Brookshire's. And my sister didn't discover it until they got to mother's house, and they went back up there, and next thing you know, they called the police and everything. And they looked at the videotape. My mother was watching them, my sister was watching the videotape. They played it back and they see the purse, my sister said, in the basket. Sees this couple walk up, and one of them pointed at the purse in the basket, and the other one grabbed it and stuck it in their purse, and they left. And they even had the kind of car they were driving and could zoom in on the license plate. And my sister and my mother just sitting there flipping, and within 30 minutes they had that purse back. That's fast, people. And my big sister, moronically, when the police called and asked if they wanted to press charges, mother said no, and my moronic big sister said, but please have them come by and apologize to my mother at her house. And before I got wind, they did that, and they were able to see where mother lives, how feeble she is. My sister and I will chat about that tomorrow, and I got that into this digital diary. But here, back on point, is that wherever multitudes are starting to have harmonic thought about anything, and they pretty much got us corralled into thinking that it's happening because we're wanting to ascend to Jupiter or the second coming. A lot about religion, because there's a lot of harmonic thought there, but it's so fragmented they're not really sweating that stuff because they can't even get along. Look at what's going on here. So they use that a lot to keep everybody distracted. But the ones that they are real concerned with is those rogue harmonic waves coming in that they have no tether to, that are unencumbered by all this propaganda stuff, these off the wall, It doesn't make any difference what you're thinking about. It is a field of energy that's coming that does damage to this matrix that we're living in. No matter how you want to look at this thing, and if you conjure up the digital, you know, the pictures of the matrix numbers raining down like on the movie Matrix, if you want that to be the vision of what you we is now referred to as the matrix, which is common terminology out there because that's what it is, whether you have that mind's eye vision or whether you just accept it that that's the network of thought that is connected together in some way doing the same thing that we would be with doing, or we all do all day long. We harmonize with someone else, something else, and for a brief moment in time we create a wave. Now when you get a lot of people and they don't have to be geographically together but they're still thinking about the same thing, that wave has a frequency and it perpetuates through everything. It goes through. I mean, it's just out there, a different kind of plane of existence. It's a wave of energy. It could again be about that big toe. It could be about how you can come up with a new mason jar that could be impervious to all CMEs, whatever. It doesn't make any difference what you're thinking about. It's that wave. As that wave increases and it's unencumbered and more joining that train of thought, that wave, that's the ones they worry about because that's the ones that can come in and really cause a major glitch in the matrix because they've pretty much got this matrix figured out. I hate to say it, but they've pretty much got this matrix here figured out. You know why? Because of things like I'm fixing to say is that I live in this world here, hard world, the tangible world, just like everybody else. And the reason I bring this out is that I'm pretty into this stuff. But yet I have to live in this tangible world here and I have family, as y'all do. And so in order to do that and prosper, this is very hard to stay at that harmonic balance level because it takes a lot of work to get back up there to get in the zone and to be able to get the wave of whatever we're thinking about. We happen to be thinking about the stuff that interests us right now. It's irrelevant really what that is, and I hate to say it, but that's fact. But let's just think good thoughts because on the other side we want to be happy. Right now they're keeping everybody away from becoming a rogue wave. That's all I can figure. That is all I can figure because you're getting stuff out there that is so off the wall, belief systems, that it would stagger your mind. let me just let's just take a look here. You've got a second. This is hilarious. But okay, there's terror attacks, and now listen to this. This super soldier thing right here is very viable. I'll tell you why. Because a lot of people are thinking about it. They are. They're thinking about the fact that with exponential growth of technology, that where they're now going to be able to blend the DNA, the essence, the building blocks of humans into a creative form of android, if you will, and have a super soldier that would have the intuitiveness of a human, and yet the speed by which they could run across Africa or Texas in about 4 hours and not be wore out and could take out a whole city single-handedly. Now let's get them to where, let's hope that they quit thinking about that, because the only counter to it is, I'll go into it in a minute. Here we got some angels, and they got this going on a lot. A lot of people thinking about that stuff. Conspiracy theories, hey, I'm there with you. I'm putting a lot of wavelength into that. That's what we're talking about here. And while you're catching on to the gig, about this harmonic balance deal, let's just go ahead and try to take care of a little bit of stuff that's clear and present. Let's throw the thought process on that and clean up a little bit of the tangible here, and that's the way it's going to have to be done. But it's going to have to be done to where nobody really has to do anything. How many of us have? Oh goodness gracious! And we pulled our hair out, spent money trying to show people how that they didn't have to really do anything other than talk about something. Well, it's got to be even simpler than that. And it's down to this. All you've got to do is think about it. Especially if you have been invited to think about it, whatever it is, with other people. And if you like it and then get enthused, then you're going to start kicking in some other little creative things that we as upright Homo sapiens can do better at this creative thing when you get certain things all kicking in together. Like you thinking. And then you get that passion inside that fires up some real good stuff, man. When you get that passion, it makes you step outside that box and make commitments, and things like that. And that gets you to where you're committed to that wave. We're all coming back to that harmonic wave. And we really hadn't even figured out now what it is, or nor does it matter what we're thinking about, as long as we're all thinking about something, and that something is, we know what it is, or at least we think we do. And that wave keeps getting stronger, whatever that is that is being thought about. These things going on right here are here for the purpose of keeping you from whatever you're thinking about in massive numbers, because whatever that is and all this stuff here, for crying out loud, look at this. Aretha Franklin to rock charts, surprise CD covers, whatever. Here's Rush Limbaugh throwing a ball. And she dropped off the map, didn't she? Oh, Debbie Washmer, she was Schultz. What a trip. And, oh my gosh, did y'all, oh my gosh, did y'all see this? I hope that this is a video. Carrie on the Hill, I hope. Let's check it out. Open another window. Carrie winked at John McCain. Oh my gosh, I hope this is it so I can get this on celluloid. But yeah, here we go. No, it's
Liberals call this
well, looky here, self-started.
It's an insult, but nobody insults your life.
At least it lets you mute there for a second while this is going on. But what happened is the one that I saw is McCain was doing a little semi-dance there with Kerry about what they need to put boots on the ground and all this, and John McCain said something like, well, it sounds like to me all you're doing is going over there just to get into Syria under some sort of guise so you can actually go in there and go after Assad. And then they had a little comeback, and after it was all said and done, Kerry got kind of halfway shot down, but then he didn't say a word, and he winked at John McCain. It was a trip. Let me see if this is what it is. Just a second.
On behalf of the American people. Are you convinced that will happen?
Well, I've already said that.
So we will have Arab, Sunni.
Chair will be.
Okay.
I'm confident that.
Do you understand this uncivilized activity? Way.
Oh man.
You've not laid it.
Find it somewhat surprising.
Maybe it's over here.
But they, the Free Syrian Army and the moderate members of the opposition, and begin to move this program to a greater degree. So will it take a period of time? We've all
It's
said
not
that,
going to be
yes.
there.
But we're confident
anyway,
that we have the.
That was a very powerful one. Let me just get on with the show here. But the thing that I was wanting to point out here with this whole deal is this. It doesn't make any difference, people. And I'll tell you why it doesn't make any difference what you're thinking about. As tightly woven as this, I'm going to call it a matrix, is. If you hadn't noticed that, And if you haven't realized that these things that we called freedoms, that everyone, sits there and thinks that, how could they ever do this? That would never be taken away. My foot. Look, it's happening to us, people. It's happening to us. And it's being eased in by the speed by which they can track movement. Look what I just gave you tonight that happened to my mother, 30 minutes. And they can fabricate anything. They are corralling us in. And if you really watch, because we're thinking about that, I just did it again. Every time that we think or distracted away from what can cause change, because their wavelength is strong, very, very strong. Those involved in that wavelength, some of them don't even, I would say the majority of them don't even know what they have aligned themselves with. Just their small thoughts, the trickling edges of the big wave, is still a part of the big wave. Without those trickles, they'd have creep. We used to call it binary creep, and it would be over. The wave would diminish. But they keep throwing some stuff in there so that it keeps stimulating those things that in emotions, fear, and all that other stuff. They get to talking about stuff like that, and we go to digging. We go to digging into research. Anything but this. All that this is going to do is give you something to think about. And it clears your mind of all this for a short period of time. So, and this is a wonderful place over here, and all these things. Let's see what they're talking about now.
Come with me now. I can protect you. I can hide you.
Why don't you just go back to heaven and leave me the hell alone?
You tell us where the Nephilim are, and we let you live.
You send killer angels to my house? What about my family? Well, they're not your family, is it?
If you forsake your powers, you can save the life you have here. If not, you will become what you were born to be, the Redeemer. When God created man, a jealous Lucifer mounted a great rebellion in heaven. His army of angels was defeated and forever banished from paradise. These angels, the fallen, abandoned Lucifer, choosing to live on earth among the pleasures of humans. They took mortal wives and fathered abominations, children called Nephilim. They have the powers of angels, but the souls of men.
Now let me tell you something. That's compelling. I'm running long here, but I don't do these that often. You might want to spread this one around. That's pretty compelling, because that's firing up, a belief system, a wave that has been around a long time. Got a lot of meat on that bone. But the truth about getting to the pure essence of the biblical story, or whatever religion it is, the quest, true quest, just the journey to get there will will in most, because there's only one truth. And when you start seeing deviations from, or that you and only you, that down that inside of you, oh my goodness, that one right there, let me reread that, or what? And you go and you start validating that on all sorts of places until you realize that you've been misguided. That's a moment. You're at a crossroads. And I said it many times. I'll say it again. It feels good to say it, but that's where we want everybody to be, is that once a person who has been honestly mistaken all of their life, no fault of their own, they learn the truth, the real truth, they either cease to be mistaken and start speaking the new truth, or they cease to be honest. Once a person who has been honestly mistaken learns the truth, they either cease to be mistaken or cease to be honest. And that's pretty much just an individual deal, isn't it? It's kind of hard to look around and try to blame that on anybody. It's just inside of us all. And when you start stacking up a bunch of those that you can call your truth, you're not breaking away from anybody or any theme or what your belief system is. You're a true believer then, because you're forging your way through forbidden territory. But you're finding peace and strength, and at least I do, down deep inside, every time that I peel one off that they say, don't touch that. Oh my goodness, don't ever say that again. Once you do and you go through and you see and you validate for yourself, now you have been set free. One layer at a time. But in order to even be able to think like that, you have to be, it's a wonderful thing to sit here and do this. It has to coexist and mingle and entangle with what it takes for us to be able to exist. And still we have to be able to come and have our quiet time to be able to become more enlightened and raised. And that also affects what people call our work, or the ways that we derive our living. And I don't know if y'all have noticed, but I have. I'm involved with the solar industry now quite a lot, and I will say this right up front, that just because it's a new industry for me and a lot of people are looking into it, does not mean, because the solar panels and various things like that look so high-tech and space-like and futuristic, that the individuals involved in the solar industry are what you'd consider the majority sane people. I have a wide awakening for you. They are very much human as well, as I am finding out firsthand. But it is so much manna, and it is so in line with what myself and a very close friend of mine, Kevin, we talk about a lot about these things. And but if you just stop and put your oxygen mask on first, and make sure then after that you can assist someone else, if you can do that event right there and do it in such a way that you can continue learning as we're doing here, and prosper most likely beyond what you had thought in reality, a number, and get beyond that where you're comfortable, really know it. In just a small pod, people, I think we're moving toward pods. I am not kidding you. And just being able to interact with other pods that have value, and everything would be working on a fair exchange of value, like we've talked about. That's what this is coming to, because the ease and speed by which information can be disseminated is one thing, but that human interaction, which is undeniable, is what will be sought out in the future. And the ability to entangle that with what they're doing, whatever it is, techniques and all that of what we'll call selling, or trying to increase their wavelength. Every little thing has its own wave that it's created in harmony. You make a sale, or you make a friend, or y'all thinking about something, a little harmony there, but the wave dissipates because we don't continue to focus on it or proliferate it out. So we do this all day long. And then when you can turn a crowd or something, or you can change a conversation, that means that you've increased your wavelength, that you found those with you. And then that might even sweep across the room. Before you know it, you're doing whatever. You're the guru. You're a guru for a moment, and then that dissipates when someone does something else. You see what I'm talking about? And so they're now starting to harmonize with a wavelength I like, which is this esoteric thinking stuff.
He's looking at Yahweh as his father, and Dad's gone off, and he believes it's the humans' fault. It's all the people's fault that God took off, and so he figured, the people made God so angry that he had to leave, and he wants Dad to come back. So he figures, well,
there ain't no telling. I mean, there ain't no telling. And I like to think about stuff, and I'd like for y'all to harmonize with me. I tell you, I've got not that I look for the easy way out, but there's nothing wrong with this. Now listen, you can get off into all this right here, and try to change all this stuff because they've got a big wavelength. You can sit here and think about it a lot, and every time you think about this, you're making their wavelength bigger, which is causing your world to, you're thinking about all this stuff, and you're creating it yourself, for crying out loud. That's what we're doing. Or, things like this, and again, I love this stuff. It's enlightening here. If you just put it into action, they're starting to come around, and they're thinking the way that we're doing. But listen, it's all about how big the wavelength is, not what the essence of it has a lot to do with the essence of it, because you can see how big their wave is, and the essence of it doesn't have us in its favor. But if you can have yourself a big old wave with pictures like this, and what you're thinking about in here, and you're creating in your own reality, is in line with this soothing stuff, doesn't that sound like a better deal to y'all? And I'm gonna tell you something right now. As country and hick as I'm sounding at this moment, I'm doing it for a reason. I honestly, in my heart of all hearts, believe the reason we're not doing it is because it's so dadgum simple. What in the world are you thinking about? I have been listening to a little bit of this natural law, hey, let me tell you something. Gravity, don't jump off a cliff. It's got a little power thing called gravity. That's a natural law. Fire burns, baby. Various things like that, natural law. And it boils down to the 10 Commandments, or the essence of the 10 Commandments. Don't do to someone else what you wouldn't want done to yourself. And don't get someone else to do it for you, so it doesn't look like it's you doing it, but you get your mind right. Just do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Create as much as you want. Have some form of exchangeable medium, money, and then you get paid on the effort and worth that you go into this deal. Now, I'm not saying at this moment that I'm going to wake up tomorrow and that's going to be the way it is, or any rendition thereof, but if it has something to do with these clowns and happy thoughts and no AK-47s, and I don't really care to hear about all this business here at all, y'all think about that and see what's going on. Y'all see that picture of that guy with that gun down there? Look at this. I've had all that I want. Goodness gracious. Check this out. We're long. We're 38 minutes into this thing. I'll give you about 3 minutes of this, but it's really, really good. Just see what you think about it.
Mountain Blueberry Yoplait. It is so good for adding a little flavor to your routine.
Well, believe it or not, I had, for the first time, I put my mic on mute and stepped away for a moment to get some water. And when I came back, I noticed that y'all had been blasted by that commercial, and we were in the middle of this moving into the quiet, the happy zone, and I can only imagine how that must have felt. Especially when I didn't turn it off. I'm real long on this. Hey, spread this one around. I enjoyed doing it. Hope that y'all gleaned something from this. Get in touch with me. You know how to do that. If not, just think about it. It'll come to you. And this is Randy, aka Jedi One. What in the world are you thinking about?